I tell you who are not upset right now, the South Koreans. 2:19 a.m. in the morning in South Korea. And Luis, you just shared the celebrations after they've qualified now for the group stage. It's just great to see as well.
Amazing. It's so annoying. I was just saying before we started taping and the boys joined us, Kay, that, we can't do some video here because I was just listening to the Korean commentators on the second goal after Sonny's beautiful through ball. And it was nuts. And I loved every single minute. Didn't understand a single word of it. I mean, I had a very close South Korean friend in school, but, he didn't teach me anything. But you could just feel the emotion. And Koreans just so happy and crying. It's, 2:20 a.m. in South Korea right now in Seoul? They're probably going absolutely insane. I mean, listen, I've been a very big fan of this team. And this game in particular, when you look at the statistics against, okay, fair enough, a rotated Portuguese side. But, they're a solid, obviously, contender, Portugal under Fernando Santos, specifically this diversified Fernando Santos. And South Korea gave them punch for punch. I mean, statistically speaking, they were right up there every single time. And obviously, the ultimate score resulted in such. And I think it speaks for a lot of what's been going on in the last year and a half with South Korean players playing in bigger clubs in Europe. I think that there's more of an understanding of who they are. It's not just about Heung-min Son, and that's what makes this team so special. So very happy for them.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the first goal scorer, Kim Young-gwon, was actually one of the goal scorers knocking Germany out back in 2018. And even those players who may not be playing in Europe, he's playing at Ulsan Hyundai, they've been playing under coaches like Fabio Cannavaro, Marcello Lippi, Luis Felipe Scolari. So they're learning from their coaches as well, maybe things that we wouldn't have seen players who are not coming to Europe learning because they're getting the experience of these World Cup winning coaches or players that are coaching them. So do you think South Korea are underestimated in any way, Jules?
Yeah, I think so. And Japan, to be fair, very similar. And it's not a surprise maybe that we see them two progressing, that we see two African teams. There would have almost be three with Ghana, but two already in Senegal and Morocco before today's games going through as well. And on the other hand, some of the big European side are the ones that you would expect to be there, like obviously Germany and Belgium and one of Switzerland and Serbia as well, that would not be there. So this is great. It's great for the game. It's great for South Korean football. 2018 was a great moment, but it was achieved in a very different way, if you remember, because I thought in this tournament, they've played really nice football. For me, some of the nicest football we've seen, not always rewarded in the way they should have been. I mean, it's not that they should have been, but not rewarded in the sense with goals and wins, etc., etc. But there was always some good moments in games. Even the first 0-0 draw that they played, there was some really good stuff in there against Uruguay. But after that, they lost to Ghana after playing really well, coming back from 2 goals down. And again today, they were 1-0 down against a B Portugal team, but it doesn't matter. But they kept playing. They've got clear patterns of play. They've got some really good individual players, but collectively they're strong. And I think every time we've watched them with Nathan, we've really enjoyed it. And I would have been gutted that they gone out, but to qualify like that, and it's going to give them so much belief and momentum. Yeah, okay, they probably will face Brazil now in the last 16, which is going to be crazy. But still, imagine how they must feel in that dressing room, on the bus going back to their hotel tonight, at the hotel tonight, tomorrow morning when they wake up and they go to breakfast. It's crazy.
Well, Jules just made a very good point. He's making a lot of good points today. He's really everybody. I'm very happy about that. Listen, he just made a good point about Japan, Nadim. I'm throwing it to you because before taping, I started talking about, we have to start paying attention now to these Asian nations because Japan, to top their group, they didn't just go through. They beat Spain. I don't care that they rotated. They beat Spain, and they've been delivering. And also, you have seen shades of it in the last few years. But there's a bit of a force here, Nadim, on these Asian teams and how well they are doing and how much more respect we need to give them, I guess.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you also forget they beat Germany. We shouldn't forget that. But the crazy thing is they lost to Costa Rica. So, try and balance that out in your mind. But this is ultimately what football is. And I think it's very easy for people to sort of underestimate what they don't know because they're not tracking those players or tracking that league or tracking their development. They just assume that it's going to be the same forces that will always be at the top in these competitions, but it's not always the case. I think when we get down to the semi-final and the final, maybe we'll see more familiar faces within it. But ultimately, these sides are good. They've got good players in, and their games are developing individually and collectively, and they're more and more competitive with every tournament that goes by. And I think if you believe that it's not the case, then ultimately you're missing the point. And even greater still, to look at that, say, Japan game yesterday, you know, they didn't have a ton of possession, but they created the chances, they scored some goals, they won the game. Maybe in a series of 10 games, you know, Spain might win 7 of them, 8 of them, whatever. But they're good enough to be able to get a win against whoever they're playing against on planet Earth in any particular moment. So you have to be very, very wary. These are good players. They're committed to playing for the national side. And although they may not have the talent of some teams that we do know, the fact is they have enough talent to win a game. And we keep seeing that over and over and over again. And now the big question is, can any of these pull off a shock in the round of 16? And for me, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 1 or 2.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.